The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Yes, thanks, Ketan. Good morning to all of you. I'm Sri Kumar Vital, Marketing Officer from the Embassy of India in Berlin. On behalf of our embassy, a warm welcome to all speakers and participants to our today's Make in India Mittelstand webinar, which focuses on a very important topic, namely on the opportunities in India's waste management sector. The sector offers a huge business opportunity, which is set to unlock new business avenues in the waste treatment industry. The government's Swachh Bharat Abhiyan 2.0 mission focuses on waste management, namely on sustainable solid waste management in every village. The government is working on harnessing the latest technologies to transform waste into energy and undertaking sustainable solid waste management. Now, close to about 62 million tons of waste is generated on an annual basis, which is expected to increase by 2 times by 2030. A large portion of this waste generated remains untreated due to the lack of efficient waste management systems in India, and this in turn, most importantly, offers investment opportunity for the private players to convert a pile of garbage into income streams. I would now leave it to our excellent experts from NTPC, RETech, Boson Energy, and others to dwell into the details of the topic. Friends, for those of you who are not familiar with our Make in India Mittelstand program, I would like to give you a brief overview of it. The Make in India Mittelstand program is an investment facilitation program being implemented by the Indian Embassy in Berlin with the support of our program partners to attract investments by German Mittelstand companies. The program has been operating since September 2015. Yes. We have many partners with us in this program. As a knowledge partner, we have namely the Euro-Asia Consulting, which runs the program for our embassy. On the taxation front, we have the company Role and Partner from the German side, and Ketan & Co. on the Indian side to take care of your matters. Likewise, we have banking institutions such as the Deutsche Bank, the State Bank of India, as well as the Deutsche Investitions- und Entwicklungsgesellschaft, namely the KfW-DEG, as our banking partners to serve the Mittelstand companies. We have the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce as our chamber partner and the Invest India as our facilitation partner. The Global Innovation and Technology Alliance, namely called GITA of CII, is our technology partner. Most importantly, we also have several state governments of India who are partners, who are very happy to handhold you on the ground when it comes to land acquisition, obtaining necessary approvals, getting the needed connections such as electricity, water, etc. The Make in India Mittelstand program is for selected high potential Mittelstand companies with a focus on the 25 Make in India focus sectors. The program has established itself over the years as an integrated market entry facilitation program and is offering comprehensive support to the investors to translate their intent into investments on the ground. Now, let me just briefly tell you how the program precisely helps the Mittelstand companies. Companies can approach the MIIM team through its hotline with any queries and questions related to their entry into India or other issues pertaining to investments in the country. These are then responded promptly by our MIIM team. The companies are also being adequately equipped and briefed about different aspects of doing business in India through specialized workshops and webinars such as the one we have today. We have done umpteen number of webinars and workshops during the last few years on important topics such as, to name a few, localization in India, location assessment and logistic challenges, be it on HR management and best manufacturing practices, company incorporation, direct and indirect taxation, cross-border tax challenges framework and practical strategies, be it on financing, pricing and distribution channels, the GST in India, and so on. We from the MIIM program also go an extra mile by also offering customized workshops for individual companies even at their firms. All the support being offered by the program has been critical to speeding up the investment decisions of the German SME companies. Our program partner, the KfW DEG, is now also financing up to 50% of the cost of feasibility studies and will provide debt and equity support for the companies investing in India. The MIIM program has helped to expedite investment announcements, incorporations, expansions, joint ventures, etc. of the German Mittelstand. In pursuance of the government's commitment to improve the ease of doing business in India, the program has offered support to the companies on matters, as I said before, on land allotment and land analysis, liaison with government authorities or industry stakeholders, market assessment or technical feasibility or strategy formulation, corporation models and execution of these models, transparency on tax and legal topics, business visas, market entry financing, and so on. The program is currently supporting over 130 German Mittelstand companies, entailing a total declared investments of over 1 billion euros. Friends, let me conclude here. Even during these difficult times and in the post-COVID world, with the changing business models and opportunities, India would continue to be a preferred business destination. We would like to have your continued engagement in India and wish you all success in your India business plans. You're welcome to contact the MIIM team in case of any support that you may require. And until then, all of you friends, please stay healthy and stay safe. Thank you all for your attention. And now back to you, Ketan.
Thank you, Mr. Vittal, for the MIIM introduction. Good morning for the participants joining from Germany. Good afternoon for India participants. I hope you all are safe and healthy during such difficult times across continents. Today's webinar would provide insights into overview of India's waste and water management sector, MNCs, operating models, success stories, challenges faced by German companies, and also opportunities in NTPC's waste to energy projects and India government's Clean Ganga project. Let me start my product presentation with brief introduction. My name is Ketan Jadhav. I represent Make in India Mittelstand Program's knowledge partner firm EAC, Eurasia Consulting. It's a management consulting firm headquartered in Munich with branches in Shanghai, Moscow, and Mumbai, India. EAC service offering includes strategy topics, M&A support, and also implementation support topics under Operation Excellence portfolio. EAC's consulting focuses on 8 strategic industry segments, including environment as one of the key industry focus. Today, I'll be presenting overview of solid waste and water management sector and would also cover select success stories of foreign investors in India. To provide you overview of waste management sector, I would be also covering overall waste generation capacities, relevant government regulations, industry structures, and road ahead. So starting with the first slide, this provides overall waste generation volume in India. Overall solid waste generation in India can be estimated at 287 million tons per annum, wherein EAC estimates construction and solid waste at 175 million tons, accounting to 61% of total waste generated. Then municipal solid waste contributes around 31% of total waste with approximately 90 million tons per annum, and rest 8 is contributed by 4 other segments, including plastic waste, hazardous waste, electronic waste, and biomedical waste. On water side, total sewage generation in India amounts to 62,000 million liters per day, with 78% of it coming from domestic sources and remaining 22% of it coming from industries. The key sources for all waste generations is basically domestic waste, municipal, industrials, agriculture activities, and so on. Now, what is the impact of this waste generated in India? Now, waste generation in India has affected the environment by contamination of arable land through landfills and air by release of toxic gases, while it's also impacting citizens' health, causing diseases to waste pickers, waste workers, 50% of workers suffer from diarrhea, asthma, and bronchitis. About 76% of electronic waste workers in India suffer from respiratory elements like breathing difficulties, irritation, coughing, and choking due to improper safeguards at dismantling workshops. Many of these workers are children and they become incapable of working by time they reach 35 to 40 years of age. So it's really impacting in across sectors, as well as let's say in environmental as well as in citizen health impact. So it's critical to address waste management issue in India. Now coming to the brief overview, to provide you brief overview of all waste generation sectors in India, let me start with the construction and demolition waste, which is one of the largest contributor to solid waste management. Speaking about this construction and demolition waste, we believe this is the largest solid waste management segment. As per CPCB report, there is an uncertainty of to quantify the generation of construction and demolition waste in India, either per month or annually. There are several factors contributing to uncertainty of the estimation of the waste generated by construction activities. Though, as based on EAC research and our market understanding, we would like to estimate that around 175 million tons per annum of construction waste that is generated in India, out of which 10 million tons gets treated majorly at 9 cities in India, including Mumbai, Pune, Delhi, Gurgaon, Chennai, Kolkata, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Hyderabad, which are major real estate markets in India. Delhi, NCR, and Hyderabad are major contributors, generating 12 million tons per annum, followed by Bangalore, which is 3.5 million tons per annum. Now coming to the municipal solid waste management, it is estimated that India generates 90 million tons of municipal solid waste. Out of total waste generated, 82% is being collected and remaining 18% is littered. Overall 23% of this waste generated being treated and disposed. Major part of municipal solid waste is disposed unscientifically in open dumps and landfills. As per the recent report of CPCB and the gap analysis report published by CPCB in July 2019, in compliance to the National Green Tribunal order, they mentioned that the holistic approach is still missing at the most of the states, as information is not available for, let's say, complete information is not available for the waste generation and treated volume. As per MNRE report, considering the projected waste generation of 165 million tons by 2031, the requirements of land for setting up the landfill for 20 years, considering 10-meter high waste pile, could be as high as 66,000 hectares of precious land, which the country cannot afford to waste. Even to contain only untreated solid waste, it would require almost 1,240 hectares of land every year. Coming to plastic waste, as per CPCB conducted the report in 60 major cities of India in 2016, it's estimated that around 4,059 tons per day plastic waste is generated from these cities. And now extrapolating this estimates gives us around plastic waste of 25,940 tons per day. That comes to around 9.5 million tons per annum waste generated in this country. Major sources of plastic waste are confectionery bags, caps, lids, and PET bottles. 94% of plastic waste comprises of thermoplastic fraction, which includes plastic carry bags, PET, LDP, SGP, PVCs, is recyclable, and remaining 6% is non-recyclable plastics. Out of this 9 million tons waste of plastic, 7 million tons is collected, while 2.5 million tons remain uncollected and littered. Plastic is collected and recycled by largely unorganized and small players in India. The key issue remains is non-segregation of plastic waste from the municipal waste available. Coming to the electronic waste, India is the 5th largest producer of electronic waste globally, valued at 8 billion euro in 2019, and in volume wise, it's estimated that India produces 4 million tons of electronic waste per annum. Computers contributes around 70% of total e-waste volume. Electronic waste typically includes discarded computers, monitors, motherboards, printed circuit boards, mobile phones and chargers, headphones, also white goods such as televisions, air conditioners, refrigerators, and so on. With increasing use of these in our everyday life, electronic waste is also piling up. It is estimated that 25% of electronic waste is recycled in India, majorly done by 150 registered dismantlers and recyclers, with around having 450,000 tons, having 4,000 tons per annum capacity. Remaining 75% are dumped or burnt, which produces pollution and other hazardous chemicals, causing several inflammations and respiratory and skin diseases. India heavily depends on unorganized sector, as only a handful organized e-waste recycling facilities are available across India. Over 95% of electronic waste is treated and processed in majority in urban slums of the country, where untrained workers carry out the dangerous procedures without personal protective equipment, which are not only dangerous to their health but also to the environment. The biggest electronic waste recycling market in India is Delhi, where around 40% of electronic waste lands in India. Bangalore and Chennai are the next big electronic waste markets. Chennai is the 4th largest electronic waste generating city. Approximately 5 tons of electronic waste is generated every day in Chennai metropolitan area. Coming to the second slide, the first one is hazardous waste here. The annual waste generation of hazardous is 8 million tons estimated. It's generated from around 44,000 industries, approximately 44,000 industries in India. Key sources are petrochemicals, pharmaceuticals, pesticides, petroleum, paint and dye, and fertilizer companies. Out of total hazardous waste generated, 54% is recyclable and remaining 48% is non-recyclable waste is disposable in secured landfills. 13 states of this country of majorly based with having major base of industries accounts for 97% of total hazardous waste generation. At present, there are approx 26 common hazardous waste treatment facilities, storage and disposable facilities operational across these 13 states, which are accounting for 97% of volume generation. There are also new sites coming up for treatment, have been notified by respective state governments. Now coming to biomedical waste, India produces around 590 tons per day of medical waste, and 90% of it gets treated. Now this was in 2019. Now in current situation, to ensure the provided the current situation of Corona-19, the COVID-19 situation, to ensure safe disposal and biomedical waste generated during treatment, diagnosis and quarantine of patients, the Central Pollution Control Board in India has come out with these special guidelines. A common biomedical waste treatment facilities in India will be disposing of all of this waste. The CPCB also have asked them to maintain a separate record for collection, treatment, and disposal of COVID-19 waste. As per recent report of National Green Tribunal, biomedical waste facilities already have shown red flag in a coronavirus fight, as there are around 200 common biomedical waste treatment facilities in operation, which is inadequate for health facilities in, let's say, a total 750 districts in India. There are approximately 11,700 captive facilities in hospitals in various locations, which are treating 93% of waste generated today, of waste generated through COVID-19 test. There is also a great need of rapid development of more common biomedical waste treatment facilities to fulfill the need of treatment and disposal of biomedical waste generated in India in such difficult time. Coming to the wastewater management, total sewage generation in India amounts to 62,000 million liters per day, with 78% coming from domestic sources and remaining 20% from industries. Treatment gap for domestic waste is 80%, while 30% is for industries. So basically 70% of industries waste is treated captively or maybe at common effluent treatment sites. The annual sewage generation by industrial units is around 14,000 million liters per day. That's around 22% of total waste generated in water. 10% is treated from medium and small scale units, over 70% from large industries. Although discharge standards remain questionable, and it's a major concern in India. At domestic side, sewage generation from class 1 and class 2 cities is estimated to be at 48,000 million liters per day, of which only 14,000 million liters per day is treated. That is approximately 30% of it. Currently, sewage treatment plants are being constructed with funding provided by central and state government. Government has also planned 574 or approximately 600 septic management projects and sewerage projects with an investment of around 2.6 billion euros. Now, this was the brief status quo of the waste management segments in India, with the volumes, with the facilities and the treatment capacity. Now coming to the regulations, relevant regulations for the segments. Electronic waste regulations were introduced in 2011 and then superseded with new notification in 2016. The 2016 electronic waste regulation rules were further amended in March 2018, which focuses on implementing extended producer responsibility, promoting and encouraging establishment of efficient e-waste collection mechanism across country. CPCB have specified collection targets of 70% of total waste generation generated by 2023 from current level of 20 to 30%. Coming to plastic waste rules, this was introduced in 2011, which was only limited to municipal areas, and in 2016 government extended this plastic waste rules to rural India as well. Rules are majorly focused on using recyclable plastic. Last year, the National Green Tribunal hauled up around 25 states and union territories for not following its orders and submitting a plan by April 2019, and how they would comply with the plastic waste management rules. So they stand to potentially pay a fine of rupees around 10 million INR, which indicates the seriousness of Indian government towards the implementation of these rules and compliance of these rules. There are rules also for hazardous waste, biomedical waste, construction waste, municipal solid waste introduced by Indian government, which are regularly monitored and amended with closer alignment with National Green Tribunal, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Central and State Pollution Control Board, and industry stakeholders. In recent addition to waste management rules in Feb 2020, Ministry of Environmental, Forest and Climate Change has issued a draft Battery Waste Management Rules 2020. The new rules of battery management, when enforced, will replace the earlier Batteries Rules 2001 with amendments made to ensure safe disposal and organized recycling of batteries at the end of their life. New rules outlines extended producers' responsibility for manufacturers, importers, assemblers and reconditioners to ensure the used batteries are collected back. Now coming to the government initiatives and regulations for water related waste, to address wastewater issues from industrial, Central Pollution Control Board along with state pollution control boards have constructed common effluent treatment plants, sewage treatment plants at major industrial manufacturing parks. Also, for environmentally sensitive zones, MOFCC and CPCB have introduced zero liquid discharge rules. There are also states which provides incentives to set up the captive effluent treatment plants. Indian government also announced a budget outlay of around 2.76 billion euro for National Mission of Clean Ganga initiative announced in 2015. It's one of the largest river cleaning program globally. Today we also have Dr. Vinod Tare as our honorable speaker. He would provide us more insights into technology requirement of this Clean Ganga project. To summarize the brief status quo of industry, looking at the future of India's waste management sector, it would see significant upswing, wherein rise in PPP, public-private partnership models, infrastructure support from government, rapid urbanization, also growing startups across India, and also it's backed up by apt government thirst policies for ecosystem and policies, and the regulation and strong compliance in regulations. Now coming to the second section of my presentation, it's player landscape, to understand the player landscape and the success stories. Indian waste management sector is controlled by majorly controlled by local mid-scale players with revenue mix of around less than 10 million euro. It closely work with state, central government authorities and even B2B cooperation partners to service the needs of the society. For example, municipal solid waste industry has approx 60 to 70 active players in India with major presence of local players and limited foreign presence. The organized segment to be estimated at 70 to 75%, and rest 25% is handled by local small players at small municipal tier 2, tier 3 cities. We would also deep dive into understanding municipal solid waste service model of for waste to energy projects with our speaker, Mr. Amit Kulshreshtha, today in today's webinar. As mentioned earlier as well, for electronic waste management, India is heavily dependent on unorganized sector, as only handful of organized e-waste recycling facilities are available. Plastic waste is again controlled by large unorganized segment. We don't have estimates for players in construction and demolition waste sector, but we know that there are approximate 10 mid-scale players present in India and operate, and includes 2 large-scale local firms. Coming to the hazardous and biomedical waste, it's majorly controlled by organized segment with dominance of local players. The wastewater is only segment which has presence of multiple foreign companies, and thus coming to the success stories, you will see foreign companies success stories in mostly present in wastewater segment and waste management sector. Our first example is SUEZ. Now this is the French company headquartered in France basically, which is one of the most successful foreign company in waste and waste management sector in India. For over 30 years, SUEZ has been helping local authorities and industry to develop resource management solutions, particularly through contracts to build and operate facilities to improve drinking water distribution services, and by developing alternate resources such as by reusing wastewater. India revenues has been growing at 11% during 2017 to 19 period. It has built over 250 drinking water and sewage treatment plants, of which 50 for industrial use, 25 are currently operated by SUEZ. SUEZ distributing 5.5 billion liters water for, let's say, drinking water every day to over 44 million inhabitants. 4.8 million population benefited from sanitation services provided by the plants built and operated by SUEZ Group in India. In July 2019, Delhi Jal Board, the authority in charge of water management in New Delhi, has awarded SUEZ the contract of build and operate a wastewater treatment plant with capacity of 564,000 cubic meter per day at Okhla, that is in south of New Delhi, for value of around 145 million euros. In October 2019, SUEZ has won the contract to manage the entire sewer network and wastewater treatment plants in Lucknow, which is the capital city of India's largest state, Uttar Pradesh, and it homes for 2.8 million population. The project is worth of 98 million euros with contract includes of 10 years of operation and maintenance of around 1,600 kilometers of sewer network, 3 wastewater treatment plants and 8 sewage pumping stations. SUEZ has also won 2-3 water distribution contracts from Karnataka government last year. Now coming to the next slide, the next case is Remondis, which is German company in waste and water management. The company successfully entered India with and expanded in Indian water market through acquisition of Sruti Consultants in 2008. The local company was successfully providing and operating in water supply and treatment plants of the Indian industry. As part of acquisition of Srushti, Remondis not only onboarded around 100 employees in India, but also 11 existing management contracts for waste treatment plants in Maharashtra region, of which 9 were for well-known industrial clients and 2 were for municipal water supply, wastewater collection and disposal. Remondis India revenue stands at 1.4 million euro and have exhibited growth of around 18% of CAGR during 16 to 18 period. Remondis also offers zero liquid discharge services in 7 cities across India. Since 2017, it's one of the it's basically one of the handful companies having necessary expertise required for ZLD technology in India. Now, in addition to Remondis, German companies such as Otto Arcon, Michael Bio, Seba KMT, and TUF SUD have also witnessed successful partnerships with local government bodies across India. Now, coming to the key takeaways and success factors. To summarize the key takeaways from success stories, companies needs to achieve a transparency to be successful in India. Companies need to achieve transparency in Indian government programs, objectives, action plans, understand implications of new and upcoming regulations for our business case. Also, companies have to scout for local partners or acquisitions opportunities, as India has presence of multiple mid to large scale players active across waste management segments, offering good opportunities for market access through JV and acquisition. Also, contribution towards increasing awareness and knowledge among all local stakeholders, including citizens, companies, pollution control boards, and ministries, is a key to be successful in India. To be on time and to end my presentation here, I would now like to hand it over to next speaker, Mr. Brijesh Patel. I would also share this presentation with all of you and would share the EAC service portfolio as well, with focus on waste management and sustainability segment, along with the key project references for the same. Now, I would like to hand it over to Mr. Brijesh Patel. Before that, I would just introduce Mr. Brijesh Patel briefly. Mr. Brijesh Patel is based in Berlin and heads the working group of German RETech Partnership, where he overlooks all area of cooperation or environmental framework, policy, project development, and market entry services for RETech members. German RETech Partnership is the only German association of solid waste management and recycling companies set up for promoting German know-how in international markets. Mr. Patel is also co-founder of the company Indus Media, where he is active in developing trade and investment opportunities between India and Germany. Mr. Patel has 13 plus years of experience of business development, project management, and organizing high-level networking and investment promotion interaction events for German and Indian companies. He has good mix of private, public, and social sector experience, having worked with startups, multinationals, and Indian business houses, as well as government organizations. Over to, I'm giving you a presentation, right, Mr. Patel? So you can unmute yourself and share your screen.
Hello, good afternoon to viewers in India, and good morning to everybody in Germany. Am I audible, Ketan?
Yes, Mr. Patel. Yes, Mr. Patel.
And the presentation is also there?
Yeah.
All right. So what I have thought about is to just give a short presentation about what is German RETech Partnership, first of all, and then give a quick view about a few challenges which German companies, machine suppliers face with dealing with India, especially with solid waste management market, and clarify a few myths and facts about doing business in India. The myths are on both sides. It's on the Indian perspective as well as on the German side. And then we'll see a few points on what is the road ahead, at least from the perspective of the German RETech Partnership. So quickly going towards German RETech Partnership. Is an export network of German's recycling and waste management sectors. It was founded somewhere in 2007, but officially not transferred, but officially be recognized as an association in 2011, registered. What we specialized and do is, first of all, our main focus is on research, teaching, planning. We look at all the areas of the business. So we have collection, logistics, storage, treatment, recycling. And RETech has one of the main key important points over here is the advisory board. If you look at the names here, they are short forms, but each and every important institution of Germany is the advisory board of the German RETech Partnership. So we have UBA, that is the German Pollution Center Control Board, you can mention. GTIE, it is the German Trade and Investment Body. BMVI is the Ministry of Economics, and others. So we have the whole system as our supporting and advisory board who helps us in formulating and decision making. Now, what's the main objectives of RETech? I would personally say the most important we stress about is capacity building for sustainable waste management, innovation and knowledge transfer. And when we talk about knowledge transfer, we are looking at a two-way experience. Not only that we Germans know the best and we are the best, we also try to learn on what's happening in the development countries. So 2 years back, we specially organized a conference in Berlin on understanding, or let's put it, understanding the structures of different developing countries and understanding what roles the unorganized sectors play in waste management. That is more of bringing in knowledge to our German companies. So partnerships with international interested countries for comprehensive, individual, tailored concepts and solutions. So this is something more of a consulting angle. We support that through our members, and improvement of country-specific knowledge for German small and medium-sized enterprises. So every year we publish more than 6 country profiles of different countries. We have published a very extensive document for India. We are in the process of Sri Lanka right now. So we're covering more than 20 different countries as of now. Our members, if you look at it, it's made up of almost 48% of consulting and engineering services, research and development. I would say in the research and development is also universities as part of it. Disposal services, vehicles, containers, plant and components. To plant and components, 10%. I will come back to this at the later stage, why we are having a little bit less participation on plants and components, and trade fairs, public utilities. So this is the list of some of our members. And how we structure ourselves in the working is through working groups. We have different working groups looking after different topics. So some of the working groups are concentrated on municipal solid waste in general, very much focused to German municipal solid waste. The other working groups are on financing, working groups on state and city country level. So Southeast Europe, China, India, MENA, emerging and developing markets, etc. Our mission, as I mentioned before, we of course, our main aim is to promote the German industry, but also we try to interlink the politics, science, and business in the field of recycling and waste management, connecting the German waste and recycling sectors with worldwide contacts, promoting cooperation, exchanges of information and experiences. So this is all through our association and our members. Well, what can international company, state expect from RETech? What can we offer you is approaches, a holistic approach along the entire process life chain. So a lot of evaluation work can be done. Pre-studies can be taken up for respective states, technical as well as non-technical studies. Cost benefit compared to individual offers of separately acting participants, and necessary conditions beyond technology and service are always considered as well. So because sometimes we have to realize it's not only the technology which is the final solution, there are some other parameters which needs to be brought in place before we discuss technology as the solution. So some projects which we have done, or our members have done, is through develop PPP projects in Tunisia as well as in Jordan. Some workshops and conferences organized by our members together with the German ministries. And this is our contact address in case anybody has any queries or questions regarding German RETech. So I'll come to my main intention and reason of being on this platform and to discuss with our past speakers as to why we thought that this particular points need to be discussed. To me, the challenges faced by German suppliers would be broken down into these few points. I'm sure there are more and we can discuss, and the audience can give me a little bit input also. But few which we came out is of most often based on these: reaching out to the right buyers, or in India, when it comes to solid waste management, our suppliers have a little bit difficulties in reaching out to of course, the government agency becomes very difficult, even if you have to work for the private operators. As we saw that the number of private operators are very selected, bigger ones, very small ones are very hard to define and to find, and as well as the industry sectors. So recycling in the industry waste, that's also very interesting, and it's not that easy to communicate with these potential partners. Tendering, we know that almost each and every waste project is tendered, and here is the first question: is the German company interested or even qualified to participate? And if yes, what is the process? How long would it take? How to participate? So this is not something which any German company would like to take, because as we know in India, a tender can take from 1 month to even 2 years. Absence of economical business models. I guess this has been debated time and again, and in the last 3-4 years, the government has done quite a lot of work to motivate German companies or international companies as well as Indian entrepreneurs to participate in the waste management sector and find an economic business model. I personally believe the worldwide, at least the developed countries, they have a very strong tipping model without the tipping fees to consider that waste problems will be solved just from the revenues of the energy recovery or whatever is wishful thinking. But at least I've not come across a model where this has worked. The other problems which we see is contract durations and validity. So even if the contracts are being assigned to a local operator, very rarely these contracts have been completed. So even if the contract is for 7 years, which does not normally make sense in a processing industry, the German companies have a tough time dealing with the operators, and the operators try to push it to the level of financial capabilities of the German partners. So that's a little bit difficult when you have a contract which is just for 6 or 7 years, and you never know what's the process after that. Guarantees of waste quantity and composition. So here, I think so one of the major problems come on providing a technological solution without understanding or without knowing what's the waste quality, quantity, and the composition, and if this is going to be continuously throughout the process, or what are the changes. Just to say plus or minus 10% is not enough, because that actually is this plus or minus 10% can change the outcome of the whole project. Challenges faced by some German suppliers, of course, very much on the top of the agenda is always know-how protection. So how do I go about dealing with the partners in India? What should I tell them? What should I do? When should I tell them? When should I provide them the technologies? Of course, clear directives, policies and directives regarding RDF, waste to energy, bio-CNG. RDF, we have seen enough documentations coming out from the government side to promote and encourage industries to use RDF as a material for energy. But other than cement industry and a few cement industries, there's nothing much happening over there. And again, there's no price and economic model unless until now to promote Indian entrepreneurs as well as German companies to participate in this sector. Waste to energy, I think so. There's nothing much to debate. I think we'll wait and see what NTPC has to present to us. I think that would be the best to hear. Bio-CNG, we are very, very happy to hear that the SATAT program was launched and there are some few success models coming out. But still, I think so we are on a very infant stage. So there is a potential for Bio-CNG for sure, provided yet now from the German perspective, there are more suppliers who are interested and looking. And I think there is a wave of inquiries as well as business opportunities in the past 1 or 2 years where I've heard personally German companies going down to India to discuss and the last problem, I think, so this is not the problem from the Indian perspective or from the German, it's just that the German industry, especially in the recycling industry, is very, very small Mittelstand companies, which have something between 40 to 50 employees. There are hardly any companies which employ more than 100 employees. And for such smaller companies who have specific machines, they do not have a very big department who will only concentrate on India. They have 1 or 2 person responsible for exports, and they do not have enough time to invest in long queries and answering Indian requirements. So that itself is quite discouraging, and especially when the business is running and other countries are buying, so they don't really want to invest that much resources. That's one problem. I mean, there are a few companies who are pretty big and they have their own sales representatives or their sales executives in India, but it's very, very few. So I'll come down to the most important thing which I have come across from both the sides, as well Indians as well as the Germans. And from the Indians, we often hear the first argument when we discuss about Germany is German technology is expensive. We cannot afford it. I completely disagree with this because we never know what we are comparing. It's just a word which has been brought out in the market for years that Germany is expensive. I have personally discussed business models and I have seen it works. German technologies are not expensive. It's expensive if you're just looking for a very short-term contract of 6 or 7 years. Of course, we have to consider here the life cycle cost. Longer the contract, the better the advantage of in having a good technology. And that's where most of the people say German technology is expensive. And coming to the most important point, what do you need the technology for? That is more important than to just elaborate and say, well, German technology is expensive. Then we come to German technologies will not work in India. So this is an argument which I hear a lot from engineers from different municipal corporations. The first thing they say, well, you don't know, in our waste is very different and Germans' waste is very different. You get all clean stuff, so it's nothing much to recycle. We have different waste. Yes, that's very true. The waste composition is very different in Germany. The waste composition is very different. But the companies whom we are talking about, the suppliers whom we are talking about, they have very, very good experience, especially in China, in Indonesia, and Philippines, and other developing countries. So to say that Germans don't have any idea or the German companies or technologies don't work, I wouldn't completely agree at all. The last question always is, Indian scale of operations are very big. yes, most of the German companies who recycle waste, the German communities who recycle waste, they have a range of 100, 200 tons per day or 300 maximum. The biggest city, Berlin, would be more. This is an experience which German companies don't have themselves, because in India, the waste starts with 500 in the mid-sized cities. But there is enough international experiences with big projects. So to say that Germans don't have experience or our technologies cannot handle large-scale projects, that would be very unfair, because big projects, especially in China, has been already started or implemented by some German experts. Quickly coming to my last question, last slide, and is the way ahead. Now, we can debate and discuss, we can keep blaming each other, but all this thing is not fruitful or not helping anybody, any sides. We should really come down to the main question: is how can we prove each other, how we can collaborate with each other and prove that it does work. And my suggestions are always joint collaboration or pilot projects, which can be implemented together with German support, as well as the Indian entrepreneurs should take up a step, or the government agencies. One thing which we certainly see as a big stepping stone is the capacity building at municipal as well as the industry levels. We would certainly recommend a lot more capacity building and educational training programs at the municipal level, because the decisions are made over there and they need to understand what are they looking for and what is the expectation. Of course, they know what they want, they know their waste composition, they know the patterns, but sometimes they fail to understand which technology would be working or which will not work. And that's where I'm sure capacity building will play a very, very important role. Common platform for interaction and exchange of information. This is, I personally believe, a very, very important step where we can try to bring almost all the stakeholders together. There is an Indo-German working group on solid waste, which is managed or which has been coordinated between Indian Ministry of Environment and German Ministry of Environment. So they do meet once in a year to discuss and put up programs. But I should just point out that this is a very much bilateral government collaboration. I'll be very happy to see that this collaboration expands to the industry level, where industries can exchange and engage with each other. And last but not the least, there are a lot of activities happening on facilitation and support for trade delegations from India. So that's active, but I guess we should see a little bit more interaction on this particular front. So these are some of my points. I'm sure the audience and expert panels will have some more view to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patel, for your nice presentation. Now, for your information, attendees, we will have a Q&A session at the end. Now, to move to the next speaker, our Mr. Jan Grimbrandt. He's a founder of Boson Energy, founder and CEO. He has assembled a team with solid track record of industrial clean tech hardware development and commercialization. Jan has already started and been instrumental in taking 2 successful industrial clean tech startups to market. Today, he will share with us his India experience and along with his colleague, Mr. Aditya Sharma. Now, I am handing it over to Mr. Aditya Sharma to share his screen. And I'll unmute Mr. Jan. Hello, Jan, you need to unmute yourself. Yeah,
I have done that. Hello.
Hello. Good morning, Jan. So, Aditya, can you share your screen?
Yes. Is it visible, please?
Yes, I can see it.
One second.
Is my screen visible to all, please?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome
Yes,
everyone
Aditya.
from Boson Energy, and I invite our CEO and founder, John Grimbrandt, to share his thoughts. So over to John. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for putting this web together. And I'm delighted to learn a lot from Ketan and Brijesh. And we want to share with you a little bit how we see waste going forward and some of the experience we have caught up during the last years. We believe in fundamental changes based on technology. And we believe that clean energy from waste from a more holistic approach is today very feasible. We will try to share with you how we see it, and if the message is not gone through clear, you're very welcome to get back to us after this web or at the Q&A session. We all know that waste is everywhere, but there we should not be so negative, because there are various solutions, as we all know and come across to various levels. I'm myself a Swede, and I'm living in Luxembourg. We are operating also in Germany, and we believe now is the time where clean is the new green, and we are entering a more higher requirements on infrastructure, and waste management is very, very important pillar in the future, or always been, but we have neglected it all over the world. And due to the various requirements in the society, the environmental, health, and economy need to seen jointly. As such, and the future requirements, the business is not getting easier from one point of view. So one need to look at it from a new DNA. We as a company, we see ourselves as an environmental business technologies. The requirements for impact from a technology is of higher importance than actually solving a specific problem, not avoiding solving the problem you are set to implement. So you need to go back both to research and structured research, so you are fundamentally prepared into the new challenges. And that is not easy, not for the society, not for the companies, and definitely not when it comes to the implementation. So when we look at rollout, we already took into account, when we designed our technology decades ago for the rollout aspect, we were foreseeing difficulty in various areas on implementation. And as Sweden, we are very much dependent, and Germany as well, Sweden to a higher extent, the dependency on export market to deeply involve into the local conditions. And so technology again is one thing, but the local stress and the local culture change or local culture adaptation is of more importance than technology. But technology is the gate to solve and be ready for various future requirements and stress aspect, because we are joined, all of us, around stress. So what we see now, that waste to energy business as usual, it's reaching what we see a Kodak moment. If we go to the next slide, what do we mean with the Kodak moment? We know that economy in some countries are very strong and driving the feasibility on waste to energy plants. Other countries not. So one need to look what kind of asset a waste stream holds, and what kind of utilization these assets mean for the financial viability. We see globally a very clear trend in distributed solutions, autonomy, resilience. And we also all know that waste holds a lot of energy. The energy can be used either for power. You can use the power on a high voltage grid with some impact. You can use the power for low voltage grids with significant impact to the stability of the distribution grid. We at the same time know for quality of society, there is an enormous demand for cooling. So in thermal plants, the cooling aspect will give quality, but also bring cost-effective stress reduction if one are able to harvest the heat into local cooling use. Historically, in Europe, we have been fighting and working hard to see how we can, from the first point, reduce the volume of waste through direct combustion / incineration. There are various regional approaches how to handle the residue from incineration, which is a various degree of toxic ash and air pollution control residue. So one need to go, you see that in the new BREF, there is a very high stress on the life cycle aspect of ash. And it needs to be affordable. And there we come to the sort of, in most countries, the big obstacle when one tries to enter into the fundamental waste to energy. But there are solutions to implement next generation clean, high efficiency, integrated into the distributed or the local environment by looking at waste as a fuel, and also how to harvest that in a mixture. We all know that waste, various composition, holds a very valuable energy carrier, which is hydrogen. And hydrogen plays an important role not only as a fuel, but also in a transition, as that fuel will not have the stress like classical fossil fuel when it comes to air pollution. And going forward, we should not really look so much into technology. We should look into what are the components of waste, how can it be utilized in an economical, environmental, societal acceptable way in the society. And we all know there is a collection aspect, sorting aspect, recycling aspect. We want to eliminate landfill because it's very expensive, directly, indirectly, not to take care of our land and water and air. And we also all very much aware of the problem of a large portion of waste cannot be utilized in a decent way. So there is waste to energy coming. What we are seeing now since a few years that India is taking significant steps towards the above or to the left aspects. But India is 3 times, 4 times bigger than Europe. It will take time, but it will also allow us, as the preparation on the left bullets requires a more holistic approach. How do we want to see an integrated future waste solution? And then we look at what we can do here. Not only we as a company, but we as an industry, how to look at the financials. And I will repeat this a few times. We know that the world is going to a new type of mobility. Battery and hydrogen will play a very important role. And we also know batteries has its pros and cons, hydrogen has its pros and cons. But when you look at the economy to implement high performance technologies, you need to look at the revenue stream. And hydrogen, when we look at this globally, Germany, next generation solutions, Israel, UK, US, and of course India, that to make these solutions financially viable, one need to look again on the revenue stream, because we cannot load the society with European level gate fees. And we are currently now exploring and rolling out a few projects around the world where we look at the size due to transportation and utilization. There is a very strong, not in my backyard, global aspect on large scale plants. We believe in the future that plants will have a sizing range between 30,000 to 100,000 tons per year, equivalent to 4 to 12 tons per hour. And then anyone can calculate how that can fit into a region, a super block, villages, part of a city. We will then be able to provide the two new aspects we're bringing into the game. Everyone knows that classical waste energy is first and foremost power. Second is thermal. But the hydrogen here again is actually the tipping point of financial viable solution for emerging markets. And again, this has been worked on for so many decades, how to eliminate the toxic leakage from ash. That can be done in various ways, but it needs to be environmental and economically sustainable. And Aditya and I and our team, we believe very much in local adaptation. When it comes to the economy and cost, addressing the local cost in a way that rollout is feasible. We will not deviate from the new BREF regulation. We're building now partnership to deliver on the above. What have we done and what have we learned? In India, like many companies, you need to be patient. We set forth already from the beginning that we need to develop the awareness on our side and with our partners. And presence is important, and you need to be strategically present. Aditya, my colleague, will browse a few minutes on that. During the years, we have been able to interact and build very good relations with important stakeholders. Mr. Tare will speak after me. He's from IIT Kanpur. Everyone knows about them. We have the cGanga initiative. We have also NTPC present today. So these are a few organizations and companies we have during the years building an awareness with. And we believe that going forward, we will be able to deliver on the above. But again, we cannot expect to get the investment only from the domestic Indian capital market. We need to attract foreign investments. And then we need to give an attractive offer, which is not waste energy only, but is also given the impact for the infrastructure and for the society as a whole. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Aditya, do you want to mention something on what we have learned the last years in India?
Yes, what I will say is that we are very happy to know that India has got Clean India, Clean Ganges program. There are a number of rules which have been, as we saw, presented earlier since 2016, which have brought in the focus on environment and cleanliness. And after this situation of COVID, which we see that there is a higher emphasis, and all of this combined with what we see, the work which has already been done under Clean Ganga and some of the leading public sector units in India, India becomes an interesting market, and it's easier to enter and carry on the business. So I think that's what I'd like to say. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Aditya. Thank you very much.
Yeah. With this, I shall be the moderator for the next few minutes, please. So with this, I will now request our next speaker, Dr. Vinod Tare from Clean Ganga. to share his thought. Just to give an introduction, Dr. Tare has been leading the Clean Ganga initiative from the technology end, and he brings in enormous amount of experience in this area. He has been professor in environment and environment in IIT Kanpur, and has been a speaker at international and national conferences, has been leading this initiative about clean river for a number of years, and now has been given direction under Namami Ganga to how the technology should combine with the business imperatives of having a cleaner Ganga. This is what he brings in enormous experience. And with this words, I'd like to hand over the floor to Dr. Tare. I'm just going to make him the presenter, please. Just a minute.
Yeah, but this was good. Sure, sorry. Let's go.
Just a minute, please.
Thank you very much. I hope I'm audible. Can somebody respond whether I'm audible?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. Yes. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers for arranging these three talks so well and in such a sequence that it makes my presentation very smooth. In fact, you will believe that it sounds like one presentation. To start with, Ketan gave an account of solid and liquid waste issues in India, including technology, quantum, regulations, and so on and so forth. And then Brijesh very nicely outlined the challenges faced by the German suppliers or the European suppliers in doing business in India. And this is what we are actually looking at. How can we facilitate businesses in India, particularly in the water sector? And one good example of that is we are already working with Boson Energy, and we are almost ready to ground the pilot plant for waste to energy. Okay, so this is a very good thing. So cGanga is the Center for Ganga River Basin Management and Studies. We serve as a knowledge partner through the National Mission for Clean Ganga, which is the executive wing for implementing the Namami Gange program, the largest river cleanup program of the government of India through the Ministry of Jal Shakti. And one of our mandate is basically to introduce novel solutions and subsequently mainstream them in the Indian water sector. Okay, so that is our main role. We play this role. Initially, we prepared the Ganga River Basin Management Plan. That was a more strategic plan. Now we are dynamically evolving it, and every step trying to kind of counsel, guide, do advocacy with the government of India that what needs to be done in order to bring in novel solutions and new businesses into India. Okay, and obviously it requires multi-stakeholder engagement, management, and also advocacy of various kinds. Okay? And as has been said, it's not just science. We have to work on all the possible aspects, including science and research, engineering and operations, technology, innovation, entrepreneurship. We need to make sure how the new technologies, new businesses, small businesses develop in our countries, and if there are suitable tweaks that are necessary in policies, laws, and governance, that is where we play a role. And last but not the least, the finance and investment. So basically, we work on all the 5 themes related to any new solution that comes into the Indian sector, into the water sector. As you can see in this slide, there is already big layout from the government side in the water sector, okay, under various programs, be it Swachh Bharat Mission implemented in the urban sector, or the Clean India mission, that is Swachh Bharat Mission in the rural India, are providing pipe water supply to all the people in India. The mission are creating smart cities to Amrut and Smart Cities program, or the river restoration program like the Ganga cleanup program. And in fact, large amount of money was spent in last 5 years, and we hope that this will continue to grow in times to come. Typically, so far, the Indian market in wastewater has been driven by EPC without a very low focus on KPIs. And this is where we want to change, okay, so that we get value for money, and people learn to deliver and not just build the plants and then forget about it. For this, we are also arguing with the government that the water sector or waste sector particularly should become a priority sector, so that the lending and interest rates are very well managed. For the time being, it's very unfortunate, but that is what is happening, that our judiciary through the National Green Tribunal is actually controlling or advising on ad hoc basis, and they keep on implementing penalties. So we obviously want to move away from this paradigm to a new paradigm which will actually do business, which will actually create an environment for doing a business for the private. Okay, and that is where we will see slowly and slowly the changes will come, because more and more of water and waste management will be in the hands of the private sector, and we will move away from the regulatory and punishment paradigm to making a business paradigm. And so we have a lot of opportunities that is coming in, and Brijesh very well mentioned that one of the things that Europeans feel that there is a huge difference in terms of the quality and the quantity. Yes, there is, but the way we are trying to resolve this is we are moving more towards small number of large plants, and that is where we are arguing the overall solution to the Indian situation, be it water or waste sector, is we need to decentralize. We need to do distributed way, and that is how the small businesses can also. So there are clear-cut routes that are available. If the technology is already validated and people have experience of working in India, this is unfortunately right now only for some very few large companies who have penetrated in India. They know how to do business in India, and they can do it in a competitive way. But unfortunately for the small businesses, this is not the case, and that is where we thought we will have, and Brijesh also mentioned that we need to go for pilot route, and this is where we are working with a number of companies to demonstrate novel solutions in various areas through the pilot mode. And the pilot could be of two categories. One, it should be to demonstrate the technology, validate, transfer, and so on and so forth. Or we can have bilateral agreements on doing impact projects. In fact, the government already announced that they want to take up now small rivers, because Ganga is too big a system, and our results also indicate that cleaning Ganga In fact, Ganga by and large is not that bad. What is the situation is difficult or bad for the small rivulet. So can we, and if we make sure that the small rivulets, small rivers, small drains are taken care of, Ganga will automatically be taken care. So we are looking at decentralized, distributed waste management and also resource recovery plan. The way we facilitate this is we facilitate first government to government understanding, if any country. Okay, so we already have established a good mechanism. We have that with UK. We have that with some of the European countries. Okay, and the way this program works, that we have government to government understanding, a larger umbrella memoranda of collaboration. But then under that, we have several programs. And under those programs, we have partner nations innovation offering. We create an Indian partner, an Indian ecosystem, and trying to make sure that the project is delivered with a good impact under the Indian condition. And one of the routes that we have developed for this, a new technology coming in, a new solution coming into Indian situation, is what we refer to as environment technology verification. Okay. And there are, of course, already we have started this. Initially, it's more than 3 to 4 years that we are into this. It is only for last 1.5 years that it has really taken some speed. And we already have gone through some more than 300 technologies. We conduct various road shows in India as well as abroad to talk to them, the problems, understand each other. And through that, we have now almost 15 to 20 projects which are pilots which are likely to come. And they are in various areas, be it decentralized wastewater treatment, be it data and information, or be it ancillary services like, I'm calling it ancillary services from the point of view of Ganga and water. Obviously, solid waste is not an ancillary service on its own, it has merit. But from the river and the water point of view, we call it as, or be it agriculture. So we are also working for bringing in new solutions, be it science agriculture, or be it improving water use efficiency, or bringing in new power generation solutions like hydropower without impacting the river. So there are a number of steps that need to be followed when one has to go through the ETV process. I will leave these slides, and we are trying to develop along with that a good ecosystem to make sure that our ETV program and the new solutions that come in gel very well with the existing program of the government of India, be it Make in India, be it Startup India, or be it Invest in India. Okay, so we are trying to create partnerships. So we help small companies to ensure that they find a suitable partner. If there are policy tweaks that are required, and based on our experience, then we recommend to the government that if you have to make a case for this waste to energy, these are the kind of changes that probably are needed. So basically, we try to create this, okay? And there is certain steps that have been followed to accelerate the EGT's process for engineering-based solution as well as for database solutions. Okay. If there are questions on this, I will be happy to answer. And of course, we understand it's not easy for small companies to make their own investment, and this is one of the conditions that they got any new solution that is brought in.
So I'm not able to hear the voice.
Yes, me too, Mr. Kulshreshtha. I guess Mr. Tare has disconnected. His voice is not clear.
They are quite interested in setting up a pilot right in Kanpur, and they have established relations with the Kanpur Nagar Nigam and also with IIT Kanpur, and I'm sure very soon we should be able to demonstrate that in this. And the way we do this is to do the advocacy. We have partners all over the world. Okay, of course, we have programs, but this, of course, is derailed now because of the COVID situation. But I'm sure we will find an alternative ways to make sure that we are on the time. If there are any questions now or later, me or my colleague, Mr. Sanmit Ahuja, he is based in UK partly and partly in India. So he would be, both of us will be very happy to answer those and give more details on it. So at this point of time, in the interest of time, I would like to stop here. And if there are any questions, I will be too glad to answer, as well as my colleague Sanmit Ahuja. I'm sure he is in the audience somewhere, and if he is allowed to speak, maybe he can also answer if that is required, or we can respond later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tare, for excellent presentation. Now, I would like to hand it over to our next speaker, Mr. Amit Kulshreshtha. He is presently working as a general manager heading West to Energy division of NTPC Limited. He has over 30 years of experience in power sector, out of which he has over 18 years of experience in system and process engineering of thermal power plant, cycles and waste to energy. He currently heads waste to energy department and engaged in bringing RDF-based waste to energy plant in Surat and a circular economy village at EDMC Delhi. Mr. Kulshreshtha has wide spectrum of interest ranging from science and technology, health and fitness, spirituality and environment. He has obtained a patent on solar thermal integration, written books on spirituality, and he is passionate about environmental issues. I'm making you presenter, Mr. Kulshreshtha. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. So how to share my presentation?
I've just shared the rights. So you can. Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, so the presentation is visible, I think?
Yes, Mr. Kulshreshtha, you can go on.
Okay. So, good morning to all my friends in Germany, and good afternoon to the friends in India. So, my presentation consists of two parts. One is the biomass profiling, which deals with the handling of the agro-residue waste, and the other part is the municipal solid waste. So I will briefly cover about this agro-residue waste, and then we'll go to the municipal solid waste. The total waste generation in India is around more than 500 tons per annum, million tons per annum, and out of this 140 million ton is remain unused, and out of this 140 million ton, around 70 million ton is rice straw. So this rice straw is normally focused, is concentrated in Punjab and Haryana. Most of it, around 20 to 25 million ton is from Punjab and Haryana alone. And after the paddy cutting season, there is a effort of farmers to get rid of it by burning. So burning in the field. So it creates a lot of air pollution. So we just to address this air pollution problem, we thought of using it in the as a replacement of food, and we converted them into pellets and used in our power plants. So this is this slide shows how many tons are produced in Punjab, Haryana, and what is the total cogeneration facility. If we consider all the plants in Punjab and Haryana and in this area, then we can only consume only 28 to 30% of the total rice straw produced in India. So these are some of the policy enablers. We started we conducted the test firing in 2017 November, and after that test firing, we concluded that this can be used up to 10% in thermal power plants. After that, Ministry of Power came up with a policy where they said this rice straw, the additional cost of firing the rice straw pellets will be passed on to the consumers for the power producers, and CRC regulations were subsequently made according to this policy. And then in February 2020, REC benefits, non-solar REC benefits were also extended to this kind of power. So we have already fired around 6,000 tons of this rice straw pellets at NTPC Dadri, and now we have placed the orders for 280 tons per day quantity at NTPC Dadri. In other power plants also, we have around 21 other power plants which can consume this material, and the tender process is on. We are planning to procure around 14,000 tons daily quantity of agro-residue based pellets for using them in co-firing mode. So this is about the co-firing, where we are thinking of utilizing agro-residue based pellets. And now the waste to energy, which covers mostly the municipal solid waste part. So NTPC, these are the NTPC projects. NTPC Kavas is based near Surat, which will be utilizing the municipal solid waste of Surat in Gujarat. Around 700 tons of refuse derived fuel will be supplied to NTPC from Surat Municipal Corporation. NIT of this project has already been published, and similarly NTPC has also entered into a joint venture with East Delhi Municipal Corporation, which is a municipal corporation body of East Delhi, and this JV company is going to install a power plant to process 2,000 tons of mixed waste, out of which 1,200 tons of waste will be used for biomethanization, and 600 tons of dry combustible fraction will be used for producing power by incineration in the conventional technologies, and 200 TPD of construction and demolition waste will be sent to a C&D plant facility already functioning that facility is part of EDMC's existing facilities. And in addition to this, we are going to have a 600 TPD plant based on a newly developed technology at Varanasi, and also 500 tons per day plant at Indore city. So this I think is well known, this incineration based technology. This block diagram shows that. I will skip it. This is a block diagram of a circular economy village which we are conceiving at East Delhi Municipal Corporation, or maybe Varanasi. It is just the scheme diagram. These numbers are not important. This municipal solid waste is first segregated into methanizable part and the non-organic fraction, which can be dried and incinerated, and then the biomethane plant is used for methane production and fertilizer production. The other part is used for the commercial fraction is sent to the incineration plant for producing the power, and then this waste heat from the waste to energy plant is also used for district cooling purposes, and this the rest which is inert portion is sent to the C&D plant. the every part of the waste is thus utilized. There is another new technology which we have installed a plant in NTPC Dadri. This plant, in this plant, the agro residue waste or the municipal solid waste, the combustible fraction of the municipal solid waste is heated in the absence of oxygen at up to 300 degrees centigrade. And this carbonizes the material and the biochar is produced. So you can see in this picture that biochar produced is discharging from the conveyor. The pilot plant has been installed at NTPC Dadri. It is functioning well. It has a output capacity of up to 10 ton per day. And we are planning to install this technology to handle the waste at Varanasi. So advantages of this technology is that because the heating
Hello, Mr. Kulshreshtha. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Kulshreshtha. Hello. I guess there are some technical issues. Aditya, can you hear me?
Unmuted.
Yes, I can hear you, and I think there is technical issue. We have lost the voice of Mr. Kulshreshtha, and but he's not aware of it, so he's continuing with his presentation.
Okay. Let us wait for a minute, or we will shift our guests to Q&A session.
Yeah, I think that we continue on the Q&A session.
Yeah, Mr. Kulshreshtha, can you hear me? Are you connected
So
now? Yeah, we lost you.
Yes, I am connected. Can you hear me?
Yes, we lost you from slide number 11. Can you please redo for us 11 and 12?
Slide number 11. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Can you please present us again, because we lost you, or everyone lost you between for slide number 11 and.
So this slide, no?
Yeah, this and last slide.
Okay. So this is a pilot plant which we have installed at NTPC Dadri, and this converts the carbonaceous waste into the biochar. Here we can use the raw material either the either this agro residue or the municipal carbonaceous component of the municipal solid waste, or that is the dry component. And then this plant can convert into biochar. The process is done at heating is done at 300 degrees centigrade, so that the absence of oxygen. And as the heating is done in the absence of oxygen, no dioxin and furans are formed. High calorific fuel is formed, which can be used in power plants, and these small plants can be used to distributed application even for villages. So these are some of the waste plants which we are doing. Just to summarize, the Kavas and EDMC plant, then smaller projects, per day projects, some of then waste to liquid fuel to power project also at NTPC Badapur, and waste to coal where we have done, and EDMC we have done, we are doing. So these are some of the projects which currently we are doing. This slide shows some of the projects which we are planning to execute in the near future. So there are around 120 projects. The investment will be done by NTPC itself. We envisage that there will be around plants, maybe of the order of 600 tons per day capacity. Then we will execute some biomethane. We will also execute the biochar. Maybe start to pellet plants we will execute, and the total fund requirement can be said around 5,000 crores investing itself. So this is in brief our plans in 4-5 years, and these are just tentative plans. The new technology which we come across, by installing the pilot plants. Mr. Aditya has already met us, and we are exploring technology to use somewhere in a pilot scale.
Yes, of course.
So this is all I had to. If any questions, you can ask.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kulshreshtha. Audience, now we are open for Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please click on raise hand icon on your panel, and we will unmute you to take your question. In the meantime, we have few questions coming in already from Bruno. Mr. Bruno Runek. Bruno, I have unmuted you, so you can ask your question. Hello? Bruno?
Yes, hello.
Yeah, you can ask your question, Bruno.
Okay, yeah, sure. Sorry, it was just a short interruption. So thank you to the panel for the excellent and highly interesting and insightful presentations. A quick question from my side to the panel. How do you see the role of waste to energy in context of the waste hierarchy in India? So that means especially also compared to the efforts of building up a recycling infrastructure in India. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kulshreshtha, would you like to answer this question? It's as it's about waste to energy.
What I understood is his question was what is the future of recycling? Is it that, or can you repeat his question?
Bruno, would you please repeat your question?
Yes. How do you see waste to energy in the waste hierarchy context in India, in particular compared to the importance of recycling?
Okay. Basically, this recycling is very important, and India is one of the countries who is recycling its waste most efficiently. And although the system is not organized like it is in the West, it may be much mechanized in the Western countries, but in India it is more dependent upon the local labor called kabadis. So already we recycle a lot of waste, and it might, I don't know the report figures, but it might be even greater than the in anywhere in the world, the recycling proportion. But one thing I would like to emphasize that recycling of plastic is not very good idea as we understand, because this plastic recycling increases its life, and then the microplastics are generated. They pollute the rivers. Suppose you make something else from the used plastic, then it increases its lifespan. Better that you use the plastics for recovery. So, or either you should not use the plastics, and if at all it is needed, then use them and just discard them for energy recovery. That I think is the best way from the point of view of the environment.
Okay.
Thank
you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kulshreshtha. Now coming to the next question, coming from Mr. Shankar Thangaraju. Yeah, Mr. Shankar Thangaraju, I have just unmuted you.
Thank you for everyone for this interesting session. So I did my thesis on rice waste to energy with a company called Role of Energy Solutions. The topic was rice waste to energy in India, and since Mr. Amit from NTPC also mentioned that there is a huge interest going on in this topic. The conclusion we had was the main rice producing states in India are Punjab, Haryana, West Bengal, and Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. These are the 5 states where the rice is mostly produced. And it's mostly seen that in North India, Punjab and Haryana is burning the rice waste. So that's where this idea came up that we had to consider using the rice waste to energy. And the rest of the states, they use the rice waste. Every single part of rice waste is used as a byproduct or some for cattle consumption or rice, the flake oil, all these things has been used. So do you think there's still potential for this, for the new business to enter in India? And that is the one question. And my second question was from, I do accept this point of view from Mr. Jan from Boson Energy. He mentioned that there is a cultural change that has to take place. Yeah, that's true, because I come from a small village in India, and I see that the waste segregation is not even properly done. The government is promoting to do that, but they are still, the waste collectors, they come and collect the waste, but at the end point, they dump everything together. So which means there's no point of separating it or something. So at the source, it has to be separated properly, and it has to take in to the end point, and it also has to be put separately, the bio waste and the other waste. So which is why it would bring to the point of waste segregation and to energy, all these topics. So these two things are the struggles I find with energy point of view or recycling in India. And the second thing with rice to waste, are there still more potential for new business to enter there?
Yes, the first part I will answer. The Punjab and Haryana, the kind of rice which is grown there is not consumed by the cattle, because this contains high silica content. So which is the other varieties like basmati and the other varieties which are grown in South and Eastern India, they can be consumed by cattle, and that is used for fodder. So this 25 to 30 million which is produced in this Punjab and Haryana, that cannot be used by animals as their fodder. So that has to be converted into some for energy recovery or any other product. We understand that there is a lot of potential into that.
Okay. And this discussion we had in 2016, and in 2016 this was the plan. Like the company wanted to enter the Indian market for this one, and they realized that it's too already there are enough businesses that it doesn't make sense for them to come and establish a new business for this market. So that was the thing that this was dropped, and we concentrated on to municipal solid waste.
I gave you some figures that NTPC is currently in the process of inviting tenders for around 14,000 tons per day of quantity of pellets made of agrochemicals. So right now we have only placed the order for 280 tons per day of quantity for Dadri. So you can understand 280 tons per day quantity is right now ordered, but we are going to order 14,000 tons per day.
Okay.
So you can understand the potential.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
And the second question regarding the cultural change from
Jan, do you want to answer this, the cultural change?
Yeah, the complexities, of course, societal prosperity when it comes to the big change between rural and urban, high income, low income. So there is not one strategy that fits the society, yeah. And but sorting is of course important, but it cannot be general that one fit all. But one needs to bring into the equation what are the valuables in waste. I will always come back to we are facing new challenges, and we need to be future safe. One needs to look at the most valuable molecule in various sorts of waste when you design a system, and that's the hydrogen. And that has implications to environment, energy security, autonomy, and it has so many societal and municipality aspects. So one needs to look at it from another way when it comes to how to treat waste. You need to put the hydrogen molecule highest, and then you need to design system accordingly. So we're coming back to basic. It's chemistry, and then it's waste, and then it needs to be adapted in the regional or local conditions. I'm not saying it's easy. That's why part of the cultural aspects come in, yeah? But we need to look at it financially, environmentally, and future safe. This is not an easy task, but if it's done correctly, the society will have enormous financial benefits.
Yeah, you're right, Mr. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Can I just? I hope I'm still audible.
Yeah.
And Ketan, if you don't mind, if I have a question to our panelist, and on perspective of the German industries, we did speak a little bit, but I'm still failing to understand the business model. I mean, NTPC, I understand you are financing it. So if you can give us some numbers with which the German companies can understand whether it makes sense for them to go down to India and be part of it. So if I'm taking even 100 tons or 200 tons mixed waste, municipal waste processing, either you process it into RDF or biogas or waste to energy plant. What would are there some standards? And here I would like to also ask Aditya, what is their business and investment strategy when they are working and they are looking at India?
So I would like to answer your first part. For example, the Kavas project which we are installing near Surat, it will be a 700 plant. So the plant will be owned by NTPC, so natural investment is ours, and we are interested to install the world-class technology where the plant emissions are one of the best in the world. So our specification specifies the best of the Euro or Indian norms, whichever is superior for each of the category. So in emission, it is even better than the European norm plants, and the technology naturally because the European and non-Indian technologies are proven. So we are looking for a proven technology, European Japanese technology, and the tenders are still open. We are facing difficulty in getting the good quality players who can participate with Indian EPC companies here in India to execute that project. So we have been extending the deadline for submission of the bids constantly for last 5-6 months. Last 3 months it was due to COVID, but before that also, because those EPC players in India were not able to forge their relationship for technology tie-up with the foreign companies which have experience. So we have been extending the deadlines for submission of the bids. So I think there is a great opportunity for the European players to enter into this Indian market where their risks are minimum, because the risk we ourselves are taking, the investments are ours. We are providing you the platform to enter into India with to demonstrate your technology, and these plants will not be like the existing 2-3 Indian plants which are not performing, and where the people have the concept that this plant should not be in my backyard. So we want to change that. We want to make these plants world class. Therefore, we are going to install this NTPC, Surat plant in front of NTPC colony itself. So just across the road is the NTPC colony, and it is in the campus of one of our existing gas power plant. So just to prove that this technology can function environmentally very nicely, and it is not necessary that waste to energy plant should emit foul smell. We are installing this plant in our just next to our townships.
Okay. One very last question to you, sir, on this would be the 700 tons of RDF which you are going to receive. I'm sure you have some standards of quantity, quality, calorific value, etc.
So those things we have mentioned in the tender, the calorific value, the size, the general analysis of the RDF, that we have mentioned in the specification.
Okay. The question would be, are you getting this RDF for free, or is this RDF being purchased by you? So what is the advantage for the RDF supplier or the municipal corporation?
Municipal corporation is separating the RDF at their own cost for disposal. So they are selling it to us. But because our plant is not in the Surat city, it is around 20 kilometers away from the Surat city. So that the transport component we are sharing. NTPC is paying transport.
All right. Sounds good,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
coming
you.
to Boson, Aditya.
Yeah, sure. What I will say is that with respect to European companies looking at India and bringing investment, one part which is very important is that we are talking about bringing foreign money to India. And in that, when we are interacting with the investors, they would like to know that what is the status of the upstream waste management, and what India need to strengthen on that front is that to make sure that there is a supply chain about the availability of waste. That's one, and there should be predictability about what comes into the waste. Now, India has now seen that there is door-to-door collection of waste, which means that what comes into the waste will be more predictable. One can understand that what is the caloric value. So it's a very good start. It needs to go further on that, and it has to go widespread for the technologies to come in and find investors who will back that up. And the supply chain has to continue to be more reliable. So these are the two aspects. When that happens, it becomes easier to achieve financial closure to those projects with respect to foreign money as well. We have seen in India that even the domestic money from the domestic banks in India have not been coming to waste sector. because of the fact that over the last 20 years, while there have been a lot of efforts, the waste to energy projects have not been successful. They have been failing because of these two primary reasons which I just explained. But so far, but what happened historically, whatever the reason may be, it was always identified that there is something wrong with the technology, right? So now the position on that is changing, and which is good in India, that it is being realized that we need to do something about the waste which goes into this technology as well, rather than asking always technology to adapt to Indian conditions. It can adapt to Indian conditions, but unpredictable waste is not something which a technology can handle always. So that's a balance which is very much needed for the money to come in. And what we have seen, we have been closely looking over last 3-4 years, and that there is a constant improvement and awareness about it. And we have been in touch with municipal corporation commissioners, and we know about it. This awareness is there. So these are the points which we see from our end. I'll also invite our CEO, Jean, if he is still there on the call, to come in and to possibly add something more to this. I think he may be on another call at this point of time. So I think this
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Yes, if you'd like to see
yeah, I'm a little bit stubborn when it comes to the fundamentals. If you value waste from the way we've seen it the last 100 years, direct combustion to produce the simplest thing, which is power and heat, yeah? The value of the waste is critical. That means every plant is dependent on gate fee. Waste is a chemistry. When you look at it as a pure value, then the discussion can change away from the dependency on gate fee and instead focus on what kind of solution is important to develop so we can have an ecosystem of a new culture. Hydrogen is the money for a sustainable waste structure, and it has so many impacts in the local or regional communities. So we need to go back to basics, and of course we need to deliver solutions that can be implemented into the society. So that's why we are saying there's a Kodak momentum, and it needs to be addressed with every of the stakeholders. We need to describe the problem as it is and look at the opportunities that we can foresee. So it needs to go back to simple things like the water gas shift. These are solutions available since more than 100 years. We haven't implemented into waste to energy or waste to a societal solution. And this is the time now to look what is the society asking for, which is economically viable, and we can reduce the stress of the community and motivate them on different kind of financial models. Hydrogen is the financial platform for future waste solutions. Technology is not the barrier. So I want just to give that again. Hydrogen will create financially new business model in the area of waste. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jan. Thank you very much, Aditya and Mr. Kulshreshtha, to answering these questions. Now, I know we are ahead, let's say, short of time, but we have 2-3 questions coming in. I'll take last 2 questions. First is from Ms. Ursula Hoffman. She's from Rodel, and she wants to ask a question. Yeah, Ursula, you are unmuted. You can ask your question.
Yes, great. Thank you. So I was just wondering what your opinion is on the current stimulus package, which was announced a few weeks back, especially towards the... Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Especially towards the disallowance of global tennis, because there was a big change. So I was just wondering, how does that impact the waste and the water sector for the future?
Okay.
Should I answer?
So, yes, Mr. Kulshreshtha, go ahead.
you can add further, but regarding this waste, this earlier also, even before this announcement about the banning of the global tenders, this KAWAS and EDMC projects, the main bidders are Indian EPC companies. The technology part, they are collaborating with the European partners. So I don't think any global player would like to enter into EPC market in India. Therefore, this will not impact them much. Only thing is the tender structure will change. The main bidders right now also the Europeans don't directly want to bid directly in the Indian tenders. They search the local partners. So those local partners will bid, and then at the back end they can offload the technology part to the European partners or the global partners. And additionally, the limit for this is I think 200 crores as announced by the finance ministers. So these projects are much more than that value. If they are bigger projects, so the threshold they are more this threshold limit is much less than that. So like the biomethane plant tender, which we are inviting in a few months from now, it will be, I think, around 300 or to 350 crore project for 1200 tons of biodegradable waste per day, or the 2000 tons of mixed waste per day. So that will be a huge project. So for the bigger projects, it will not even matter. And for the smaller ones, the technology part, the global players can give through Indian partners.
Thank you. And just to add on what Mr. Kulshreshtha said, Ursula, I see this as a temporary arrangement to towards the sustainability of local supply as well. So as he rightly mentioned, it should not affect too much for the foreign players, as they have a cap for the smaller projects, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Yes.
I hope it answers your question, Ursula. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
And the last question of the session. Sorry, anyone wants to add anything?
No, I was just saying from Boson Energy, yes, we fully agree with the explanation which we got from Mr. Kulshreshtha. In addition, I'd like to say that in any case, waste to energy model has to work together with a local partner, and that this notification will not apply to them. And just to convert these two figures which Mr. Kulshreshtha used, about 200 crores will mean about 18 million euros, and about 350, which he said will be around 40 million euros, just for the audience.
Yeah. Thank you, Aditya, for adding your inputs. And we are coming to the last question of this session. It's from Mr. Hans Peter. So, Mr. Hans Peter, I have unmuted you. If you can ask your question now.
Thank you very much. Just as I have written already, in my opinion, and this is the opinion of various people, recycling has to be much more considered. Our incineration plants have been built because of the huge landfills we had also in Switzerland. And now I would really say a warning: do not focus too much on waste, on energy, but consider sorting out recyclable items and then go to maybe at the last option to burning it, because this is quite inefficient, this burning. We have heating in winter with waste, which is absolutely not efficient. So I would like to know, I had one person had already a question about recycling, how you consider to integrate recycling much more in India, which I would really appreciate.
So basically this, if you go to any landfill site in India, you won't find any of the recyclable material there. So recycling is already part of the waste waste handling management system, although it requires more automation so that the process becomes more automatic and without human interventions, that I agree. But we agree that yes, recycling should be at a much higher hierarchy, but we should remember that without having a waste to energy plant, you cannot make a full waste management strategy, because even if after recycle everything, you still remain with something which has to be used for energy recovery. So waste to energy plants, we are not going to expand in a big way. I showed you the program that the bigger incineration based projects will be what we are considering in next 3, 4, 5 years is around 10 numbers. But the other decentralized methods for waste utilization we are focusing on. And yes, I agree that recycling should be the important strategy for waste management.
I agree that at the end, it is certainly needed to also to have incineration plants, but I have seen a lot of landfills internationally, and I do not really agree with you that you say what you have on the landfills is not recyclable. We should recycle it before it goes to the landfill, and this is possible.
Yes,
if you go to where landfill site, you won't find the PET bottles or the thermocol or all those things which can be recycled. The only thing which reaches the landfill site in India is mostly 95%. I can tell you it will be non-recyclable material, which is fit for energy recovery only.
So I have to learn about that a bit more. Here in Europe, it's different.
But that is not automatic system. I agree with you that it is not an automatic system in India. It involves a lot of manual intervention. There is a class of people known as kabadi wala. They come to your house. They will take every recyclable waste material and pay you something.
I know.
And then so it works differently in India.
Yes,
I know that we can maybe once discuss with each other directly. It would be interesting, I'm sure. Thanks a lot.
I just like to add here is that when we are talking about 100% recycling, basically the inherent objective there is that nothing should go to the landfill. And so as much recycling could be there, which leads to no going to the landfill. And we as a company also believe in that and bring in a technology which ensures that nothing goes to landfill. So whatever is left out, which is like in saying landfill is still there, despite because the incineration as goes to landfill and which creates a problem. So we could discuss about this later on, but the objective we have to understand between 100% recycling and no landfill. And world over, everyone is now wanting gradually to have no landfill and then find a solution to the waste whatever is generated.
Fully agreed. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Aditya. Also, I would also like to add something here that yes, we should definitely, as everyone has mentioned, recycling is important. Now, recycling with few segment in focus like construction and demolition waste can be done, electronic waste can be done. There are some issues with municipal solid waste and plastic waste where the segregation is issues, the collection is issue. There only the recycling is a big challenge. Rest, if we go segment wise, you can target particular segments and target the recycling part. Then thank you very much, everyone. With the last question here, we would like to end this session. We have already taken 30 minutes more than the committed time. Thank you very much for all speakers, Mr. Aditya Sharma, Mr. Kulshreshtha, Mr. Patel, Dr. Tare, and Jan Grimbrandt from Boson. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
We will definitely share, and we will share the presentations along with the contact details of speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice day.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much, everybody. One more time from myself here in Berlin and on behalf of the German RETech Partnership.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.